the most really callous myths that liberals promote is that there's never an excuse to say racist things. Anybody who says they said racist things while mentally unwell is lying and they were masking their bigotry the whole time. This is completely ascientific, completely untrue. Yes, there are some mental conditions where you're not changing your general thoughts, just your capacity for inhibition. Mild levels of alcohol are an example of this. But there are very much some mental conditions, a lot of them, where your brain is literally processing reality abnormally, and you will come to new thoughts you will never have in your baseline personality state. Psychosis is one of those. So they have science on this. In a psychotic state, you are generally paranoid, fear based, self referential, and if tendency to mania grandiose. The fundamental thing that happens in a psychotic brain transition, and there's degrees of this, is self reference. So, whereas a normal person sees the whole and their self is a part of it, when you start slipping into paranoiac and eventually psychotic, everything is about you. You are the focus. There's brain is literally the metabolic activity in your brain is changing for this to happen. So, whereas a normal person goes outside and they see a bird, they're like, "That's a bird. I'm outside." A paranoid person, like, that bird is about me. And then the more illogical and rotten your brain is, you'll start to think, I hear the bird talking to me. The bird is giving me a message, right? Um, there's a general brain activation state where everything's about you and very commonly fear and paranoia. And if your tendency to mania, grandiosity, which is like the inversion of fear. Like everyone's against me versus I am so great. They're both very similar but inverted, right? So what commonly happens when someone has a brain like this, it starts out like the radio is talking to me, the TV is talking to me. And then even if you were a logical atheist before, you can start to think God is in the radio and talking to me. Like Queens of the Stone Age, God is in the radio. I'm being chosen by God. And the more common fear-based paranoid psychosis, which is less associated with mania, but could be part of it, because usually manic people are both grandiose and paranoid afraid. Social narratives that you knew were crazy bullshit start to make sense. And very commonly, a paranoid self-referential person is in this state of paranoiac brain processes. It's the self-reference will be weaved into fear-based paranoiac themes that exist in society already. So there's a famous case, I don't know how famous it is, but it's well known, of this Muslim lady who was a babysitter and she was psychotic. And she beheaded the baby and then went around in the town saying, I'm a terrorist. I'm a Muslim terrorist and did this. Now, if you looked at her history, she's almost certainly not a terrorist. She's a Muslim lady. So what happened to this woman is she's in a state of psychosis, everything's self-referential, and she exists in fear and paranoia, and themes in society she knows about, such as the fear of Muslim extremists, starts being weaved into herself. So what goes on is like she may have been in care for this baby while crazy, and maybe the baby was saying something to her like, destroy Muslims. In her head, she thinks that's happening. Or she gets a vibe looking at the baby, like this baby's against me. They're gonna hurt me. So she kills the baby and beheads it because now in her brain she's got this dual narrative, like Muslim terrorist fear. I'm secretly and another thing happens it's like this self hate as well. So you'll hear like with people in a state of paranoia, mental illness is the voices are abusive. The voices are telling them they're shit. So they'll grab onto a social narrative. In her case, because she's a Muslim lady, she was grabbing onto fear of Islamic terrorists. And it could have been like in her paranoid self-referential state, voices or a feeling was, I'm a bad person. I'm a Muslim terrorist. This is something that happens, right? So she killed the baby because she's afraid the baby was going to hurt her. And then she goes around, I'm a Muslim terrorist. That's why I did this. This is very common, tragic and common. So what I'm trying to say is when you see somebody who's clearly not right and they're paranoid and they think like the TV talks to them and the radio and they think they're chosen by God. And as what you know of them before is they were an atheist and they say racist shit now. You cannot conclude that they were secretly masking their racism their whole life or that they always thought this. It makes as much sense as thinking Terry Davis always secretly believed in Christ versus no, it's obviously fake, right? And the same thing with his racist paranoia. He grabbed onto that because of his self referential grandiosity and fear that led him into the paranoiac narratives around race that are common in society that normal people can see through. Just like common method parent grandiose of God's chosen me, I'm God, that most logical people don't believe in unless they were born into it and conditioned from birth, right? So he both grabbed onto I'm so special, God chose me, and I'm a special white man and also blacks and whites because these are common things to study religion for grandiosity and racial paranoia and grandiosity in race, right? So a lot of people see someone like Terry Davis and like he was always a bigot and this is a truth serum. Now we know. And it's like, you know, you cannot conclude that any more than you would conclude he was always really Christian and just hiding it while a programmer to fit in. No, it literally changes how you process self, feelings of grandiosity or fear and threat. And very commonly they grab onto narratives in society to weave into how their brain is working, right? So the most common themes in society are like Islamic terrorists, CIA, um, blacks after them, Jews, a conspiracy, you know. So it all makes sense when your brain's fucking cooked like this, right? And it's very callous to just say it could never happen because it can happen. It commonly happens. And if you go to a psych ward, you're going to see people like this, right? You're going to see people who think they're the Messiah. You're going to see people think Jesus talks to them. You're going to see people who are like, the Jews are after me. You're going to see people who are like, commies are after me in 1950, like a beautiful mind guy. You know, you're going to see Islamic women who, because of their paranoia, they're like, I have this thought in my head that I'm no good. I'm evil. I contain the devil, and I'm an Islamic terrorist because they were in America and they saw Homeland, where it's about Islamic terrorists, and they know they're Muslim. You're gonna see this shit, and you cannot conclude like, oh, maybe she was fucking with Islamic terrorists. I assure you, she wasn't. Oh, maybe he was secretly Christian this whole time. No, he wasn't. Oh, maybe he was a racist this whole time. No, he wasn't. Psychosis is not a truth serum. There are some mental conditions where it's like a truth serum, where like you can lower inhibitions and then you ask them shit and they'll say shit they would never say, but not psychosis, not paranoia. It's literally creating new fucked up thoughts based in self reference of grandiosity, fear, and commonly involves themes in society everyone knows. David Bowie was not secretly hiding his Nazism. When he was the thin white duke for a while, it's because he's prone to schizophrenia and mania. So he went into this self referential, illogical, fear based, grandiose state where he grabbed onto Nazism. And then when he stopped doing coke and his brain stopped working better, he was like, well, that was fucked up. Why did I do that? That's what happens, right? It's a very toxic myth to promote that paranoiac, psychotic thinking is a truth serum. It is not a truth serum. It is a thought disturbing condition. It's a thought disorder. The official word in psychiatry for this is thought disorder. Paranoiac, psychotic thinking is literally your thinking is changing, not your inhibitions. It is not like when a bigot who's a bigot and pretending not to be a bigot goes on social media and they think no one knows, so they're like, I hate blacks. That is not what this person would be doing insane. But when they're crazy, they'll not only say it on social media, they'll say it in real life. They'll make their life about it, right? Just like thought disorder is not the same concept as inhibition of thoughts, which is why, like, the reason I say this is I feel like stupid libs and lefties, like, you're saying bigots are crazy. No, bigots are bigots. I'm saying people who have a known and obvious mental illness where you see other signs of it, like they think God's talking to them, or the thoughts or the TV's talking to them, and they're paranoid and obviously unwell. You can't conclude they're a bigot. That's all I'm saying. This is not a truth serum disorder. It's a thought disorder. Okay. And if you look up research, they actually can see the metabolic changes in the brain that like a self-activation centers light up. Amygdala lights up. All these things are working to change how they think in a thought disorder. It is the worst mistake on earth to think this is a truth serum and you're just saying what you always thought. Now, the issue with Kanye West, which is why this is being discussed again, is he's likely lying. He likely was faking his manic episodes and he's likely faking his apologies now, and the dude is an Illuminati orbiter. His whole shit is being controversial. So when he was saying Hail Hitler and fuck the Jews, it was probably a drum press for his album back when woke was very cool. And now that woke is uncool, he's like, I denounce that, I'm woke now. He's always like manic episodes don't work like that. You don't go manic before your album every single time, and then you go woke the next time. Like it's the reason to doubt Kanye West is the whole thing was likely a show. The way Elon is a show. Elon's not a Nazi. He wants to kill you all. And Kanye probably ain't a Nazi either. He wants to keep the attention going to get money, right? I'm not saying like maybe it's true. Maybe he was manic this whole time, and if he was, then what I'm saying applies to him. Like you really can't conclude he's a bigot. Like if he was manic at the time, I don't fucking know. But yeah, psychosis isn't a truth serum. Don't kill and be cruel to schizophrenic people saying like N word because you cannot know what they'd be like normal or what they were like normal. They're just saying their thoughts now. It's like, that's not true. You can literally do research on this. It's not true. And it just promotes cruelty to disabled people. Like, I'm pretty sure these people killed Terry Davis. Like, he was secretly a bigot his whole life. It's like, he wasn't probably. He probably couldn't give a fuck about racism or Christianity and was just like, I'm a program now. Just saying.